from?
We are sitting here in the beautiful Fairmont South Hotel in Bermuda.
Southampton, I think.
Southampton is that what it's called?
South too. South and Southampton.
Well, we're here for the Unify Global Analyst Summit, where Holger and I, along with a bunch of our colleagues, spent days learning all about the business and product offerings from Unify.
And it was exciting because we had a live acquisition. Yeah, we had the background of Google Hangout playing, but hey, this is not perfect. This is live and fast and furious, right? So it was exciting because not every time at an analyst summit you have live communication of an acquisition happening.
Absolutely. So while we were here, they completed the acquisition of Unify by Atos or Atos.
Atos.
There we go. One of the world's fastest growing service providers and system integrators, headquartered in France, but have global operations. And so, what does this mean for Unify?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Everybody was upbeat here, but first of all, we know the SI business under tremendous pressure with the move to the cloud, probably one of the most disrupted areas because you don't have these cushy implementation budgets of on-premise implementation. So all of the SIs are looking for a new IP, but usually it's in the analytics and big data space. And interesting that they got a collaboration call center PBX company out of the Siemens hold, renamed to Unify, under their wings.
Yeah, so Atos has been, for the last couple of years, they've had this practice in digital workplace where they've been focusing on this campaign about reducing email. A few years ago, they acquired another company called Blue Kiwi. It's primarily a wiki-based enterprise social networking collaboration tool. But I think this has, much more substance to it, what they're doing with Unify to bring to that world. So, combining sort of the document side of Blue Kiwi with the unified communications side from Unify is going to be an interesting story we'll have to follow.
They didn't tell us they would do that, but we think that
that's something on the roadmap.
It's not comparable because, Siemens Communications goes back to the venerable Rome, right? If anybody remembers that sitting on the desk Rome phone.
So Rome, then Siemens, then Unify, and they're now Atos.
Atos, right? Well, keeping the Unify brand, that's what we work for, but this is a long-term commitment to customers, thousands of customers, right? So large step, and interesting to see that the digital transformation is so high on the Atos side. We talk about all the time.
Yeah. For those you watching that aren't that familiar with Unify, one of the main things that they've been talking about here this week, they make large call center applications, something called OpenScape. But I think we want to focus on a product that they launched last year that's called Unify Circuit. So do you want to give a brief introduction to what Circuit is?
Yeah, so actually last year is October 2014, so we have last 1 year, happens to me all the time. Circuit is the new way of collaborating, which Unify had on top of the venerable Siemens media servers. Have some interesting assets there, which allows you basically to do chat, threaded conversations, work in a thread kind of like list shape, but gives you also the connectivity back to the synchronous world, where you work in these two worlds of asynchronous things, email, chat potentially, nobody's going to answer to my chat 10 days later, right? Nothing happens. And then there's a synchronous world where when rubber hits the road, we pick up the phone, we want to talk to someone, something has happened. I think the combination of the two is the interesting thing on the Circuit side.
Yeah, exactly. So essentially you have, over the last few years, everybody's been wanting to try new ways of communicating instead of email. There's blogs, there's wikis, enterprise social networking, which was kind of dominated by products like Yammer that was acquired by Microsoft, Salesforce, Chatter, and some others. What Circuit really is, sort of, it's that same kind of Facebook look where you have a stream of posts that people are making and you can say things. But I think you brought up, the main differentiator for them is this ability to, we're typing, we're having this conversation, but right seamlessly inside Circuit, I can launch into a phone call, which is a voice over IP call, so it's no phone really required, but I can turn it to a voice conversation. I shouldn't say phone call, voice conversation, or I can share my screen with you, or we can launch into a video-like communication, like what we're doing right now, where everybody can kind of see each other, and you can have
a team. One viewer.
Oh, there we go. Hello, live viewer. This will be played back later, but thank you for joining us live. But yeah, so Circuit's entering that space, and while they're entering a little later than some of the others in this market, I don't think that's really a bad thing because this market really isn't dominated by anybody yet.
Sometimes being late gives you also opportunity of doing it right, and that's something we can see here. especially if you think about that they're leveraging a freemium model to get more of the adoption. And we had the chance to speak with the CTO, Stefan. Stefan. It's his name is Stefan,
the
and
CTO
his last
Stefan.
name, and we know him.
We
He's
apologize.
A nice guy. Sorry, Stefan. Reed? Reed, Stefan Reed. Hey, we got it together. Hey, it's what is it? 11:30, so it's late, so it's terrible. So Stefan Reed. And they took a lot of cost out of hosting it, which you have to make the freemium model work, which I think is the way of getting the heart of the business user who has a problem with communication and collaboration and looks for a solution without talking to the CIO, doing a big RFP, saying, I need a solution for my department, I find something. And like mushroom, these viral applications get rolled out and get there.
I think that's a very, very key point with what we're talking about here. This isn't like a company-wide rollout where your email system or your payroll system. These collaboration pieces can grow and start at departments. And Unify's done a good job at figuring out pricing tiers and packages. You talked about free, but they also do move you up to team, and then professional, and then enterprise. So like you said, coming into this market a little bit late, they've been able to analyze what's worked for some of their competitors, what hasn't worked, what's the best way for them to get people. And they want this to be as seamless, and I shouldn't say seamless, frictionless for people to get started as possible. So Circuit is a cloud-only offering. This isn't something you have to download and configure and manage and upgrade and things like that. So you basically, go off to the Circuit website, choose the package that you want to have, and a few minutes later, you're sort of up and running.
Exactly. And they have data centers on both sides of the Atlantic. It's all built in OpenStack, so good approach from technology side. Also interesting is that I think people will do development because of the many different solutions which are out there. You might have a different chat client, or I think the example they had was from higher education.
They're doing some learning management system integration.
Exactly. There's an example, and then there was another one from New York about. Stefan was even joking. I don't know about it because I'm from Europe. But there was They went to this higher education institution. They said, well, it's nice what you have, but all our students are on this collaboration tool, which Al and me don't even recall. Yeah. They integrated it in less than a day. GroupMe.
Sorry, I know the story you're talking about now. So one of their case studies, they did integration with GroupMe. So the ability to seamlessly pass messages back and forth from Circuit to GroupMe. So, let's talk about developers for a minute here. It's a competitive market. Developers need to be convinced of where they should spend their time building for. So if I'm going to build an add-on, do I build it for Microsoft's platform or IBM's platform or Salesforce's platform, or the Circuit platform? And so they've done a good job starting off. They have code samples and things like that available on GitHub. There is a developers community website that you can join, and you can get some education and you can learn about it. But I think, they are going to have a challenge convincing developers monetarily why this is going to be in their benefit. So if I'm a developer and I'm building a task management tool or a analytics package or something, I have to sort of look at which ecosystem is the best for me to build in. So I look forward to seeing what they're doing with that in 2016.
You have to have a compelling business case. No question. You might have to have a marketplace too for these solutions to be sold and monetized, right? Because the next thing is a business executive who does not want to code and see the solution between HipChat or whatever, let's make it up, whatever they might be having, and somebody's built an integration, you pay
we just saw
10 cents per chat or whatever.
We just saw last week the 10th anniversary of the Salesforce App Exchange, with almost 3,000, I think it's 2,800 applications in it. In this space, it's kind of hard not to mention, the most momentum these days is a company called Slack, and one of the reasons Slack is popular is because of the number of applications that can be added to it. Slack may not have all the functionality, but if you want to add video conferencing or task management or any of these things to it, you can go to the Slack App Store. So I think Unify will be building up that as well as the year goes on.
We'll see that. So then we talked about synchronous and asynchronous, but then work is done in enterprise applications. That's the third leg of the stool. You can almost call it like this, which has to be integrated well. And I think there's an opportunity. I mean, on the high end, SAP and Oracle have their own collaboration, continuous integration solutions. Asynchronous.
Business tools. There are HR tools, CRM tools, supply chain.
ERP vendor number 3, Info, and cloud market leader in HCM Workday. There's no out-of-the-box collaboration capability. So OEMing this is an opportunity for Unify.
Absolutely, and also they're now, I shouldn't call it partnership, the acquisition via Atos brings with them a large service arm that has an experience and skill base with enterprise software.
Right.
So I think, we're going to be able to see them help at the larger level kind of turn Circuit into more of a business caliber tool through some partnering and some business partner things there.
But interesting you brought up Atos, because you oversaw at the beginning. There's also value for Atos in Unify itself, because Atos traditionally didn't, as I always did things themselves, didn't have a partner channel. And as they're becoming more product company, I wasn't aware we had Eric Rowell, the head of the managed services business of Atos here, which was a great sign of both collaborating and then doing the announcement
and the seriousness of the
closing of the acquisition. He was mentioning the Bull acquisition, the venerable Bull, the French hardware manufacturer Bull, being part of Atos right now, and that they're building dedicated appliances, one of the largest, or the largest, I think, it's at HANA application appliances to run that, and they need a partner, as well as for the security offerings, which Bull has diversified into that, which Atos didn't have. So I think Unify brings something to the table, coming back to the acquisition, which is the news on this, which is valuable to Atos.
It looks like the deal is good for both sides of things.
Synergies.
So just in closing a little bit, just to wrap things up with Circuit, for me, as I've mentioned, this is a very, very competitive market with offerings from Microsoft and Google and IBM, and then you have startups like Jive and Slack and HipChat and River and a whole bunch of people doing stuff in this space. But what's important to point out there is no dominant player in that space right now.
Nobody has it all.
Exactly. Nobody builds everything to the product, and no one of those names has really market leadership. Last era's tool of email dominated, almost, 99.9%. There's maybe a few outliers, but is dominated almost 100% by 3 vendors, either Microsoft, Google, or IBM. There is no 3 dominant players in the social business space. So, I think there's a great opportunity, and I think it makes a lot of business sense for Circuit to get involved in this. And, as a product that they've been working on a year or two, it has a very strong feature set. It's got a way to go to catch up to some of the competition, but I love the threaded conversation model. They have
given to us in the meeting, right? So
very seldom
we use
it ourselves.
To play the software, use it ourselves. So
they have integration with Box. They have integration with Outlook, and we're just going to see it growing from here.
I think exciting time, like you said, nobody has it all. Exciting time for the future of work, and it will be interesting what happens in 2016.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, in closing, I want to quickly talk about, not only, the product itself, but this has been a great event to be at. We mentioned earlier where we are. You want to repeat where we're sitting here?
We're in Bermuda. It doesn't look like this, but I think great location. We were both surprised. 2 hours flight from New York only, so not so. It's closer than Denver from New York.
So this week we learned a lot about Unify, a lot about Circuit. We learned a lot about Bermuda. So I think for you viewers out there, my recommendation to you would be, go off to the Circuit website, sign up, get yourself a little trial, and then maybe move over to the Kayak website and get yourself some flight tickets down to Bermuda.
Do some circuiting in Bermuda.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Alan Lepofsky, Holger Mueller from Constellation Research. If we can answer any questions for you, please feel free to get in touch.
Bye-bye.